This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Adventures of Pinocchio by C. Collodi, translated by Carol Della Chiesa. Chapter 32, in which Pinocchio's ears become like those of a donkey. In a little while, he changes into a real donkey and begins to bray. Everyone, at one time or another, has found some surprise awaiting him. Of the kind which Pinocchio had on that eventful morning of his life, there are but few. What was it? Well, I will tell you, my dear little listeners. On awakening, Pinocchio put his hand up to his head, and there he found, guess. He found that during the night his ears had grown at least 10 full inches. You must know that Pinocchio, even from his birth, had very small ears, so small indeed that to the naked eye they could hardly be seen. Fancy how he felt when he noticed that overnight those two dainty organs had become as long as shoe brushes. He went in search of a mirror, but not finding any, he just filled a basin with water and looked at himself, and there he saw what he never could have wished to see. His manly figure was adorned and enriched by a beautiful pair of donkey's ears. I leave you to think of the terrible grief, the shame, the despair of the poor marionette. He began to cry, to scream, to knock his head against the wall, but the more he shrieked, the longer and the more hairy grew his ears. At those piercing shrieks, a dormouse came into the room, a fat little dormouse who lived upstairs. Seeing Pinocchio so grief-stricken, she asked him anxiously, "What is the matter, dear little neighbor?" "I am sick, my little dormouse, very, very sick, and from an illness which frightens me. Do you understand how to feel the pulse?" "A little." "Feel mine, then, and tell me if I have a fever." The dormouse took Pinocchio's wrist between her paws, and after a few minutes looked up at him sorrowfully and said, "My friend, I am sorry, but I must give you some very sad news." "What is it?" "You have a very bad fever." "But what fever is it?" "The donkey fever." "Well, I don't know anything about that fever," answered Pinocchio, beginning to understand even too well what was happening to him. "Well, then I'll tell you all about it," said the Dormouse. "Know, then, that within 2 or 3 hours you will no longer be a marionette nor a boy." "Well, what shall I be?" "Within 2 or 3 hours you will become like a real donkey, just like the ones that pull the fruit carts to market." "What have I done? What have I done?" cried Pinocchio, grasping his long ears in his hands and pulling and tugging at them angrily, just as if they belonged to another. "My dear boy," answered the Dormouse, to cheer him up a bit, "why worry now? What is done cannot be undone, you know. Fate has decreed that all lazy boys who come to hate books and schools and teachers, spend all their days with toys and games, must sooner or later turn into donkeys. "But is it really so?" asked Pinocchio, sobbing bitterly. "I'm sorry to say it is, and tears are now useless. You should have thought of this long before." "But the fault is not mine. Believe me, little Dormouse, the fault is all Lampwick's." "Who is this Lampwick?" "He's a classmate of mine. I wanted to return home. I wanted to be obedient. I wanted to study and to succeed in school. But Lampwick said to me, 'Why do you waste your time studying? Why do you want to go to school? Come with me to the land of toys. There we'll never study again. There we can enjoy ourselves and be happy from morn till night.'" "And why did you follow the advice of that false friend?" "Why?